Well, interesting story, and it's certainly not helping us poor real estate agents to transact more often. We'll talk about that in a moment's time. Joining me in the studio at the moment is the RESA, which is the Real Estate Institute of South Australia's CEO, Greg Troughton. Greg.
Hello, Tim. How are you?
Very well. Yourself?
I'm very well.
Good.
Very well.
I'm just keeping in line with the long titles of the last couple of weeks. So I had to pronounce the
So
whole
you've been
thing
struggling a little bit with the...
I've been going okay, but
okay.
like to get a big mouthful in there. Greg, interesting article there. The 2.5 years extra hold on the average Australian move. Your comments?
Look, I think it comes down to there are high transaction costs, and look, it would be remiss of me not to mention the fact that every time you go to buy a home, particularly here in South Australia, but across the nation generally, you know, there's this thing called stamp duty, and you know, it can add up to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and it really is a cheque being sent into to Treasury to run the state, and I think that impost is very high, and so people are looking to DIYs and holding on to their property a little bit longer, and as you said, that is not very good for real estate agents, I can assure you.
No, well, it's certainly not, but I guess the main thing from all of our points of view is we understand that government need a certain amount of money to run, and they've done some good things over the last week or two with the budget.
They certainly
on
have.
Stamp duty.
Yes, yes. Look, we've been having lots of conversations with the Treasurer, and he's seen fit to give some stamp duty relief, as well as not bring back the first home owners boost as quickly as what was originally planned. So there is some relief there, and I certainly take my hat off to the government on that. Could there more be done? Absolutely. Do I think the imposts on property in South Australia are too high and unfairly too high? Of course I do, but as I say, the government needs to be congratulated with what they've done more recently.
And as early as today, and I think you've had a reasonably large part in the discussions, a couple of developments that sit outside of the Adelaide City Council have been made exempt from that stamp duty.
That's exactly right. I'd like to take the kudos on it, but my friend at the Property Council might give me a kick a little bit later. No, it's been fantastic. I know that there's been ongoing conversations, and those two, Bowden and 45 Park, will be giving those concessions. So we're really hoping and praying that will give things a boost along as well.
Yeah. I guess to move to other aspects that you're involved in, legislation, we saw a number of years ago some remarkable changes to the way we all do business. They revolved around things like auction, some of the statutory advice that we had to give buyers and sellers.
Yes.
Some of that would have perhaps been declared sort of a knee-jerk reaction to some of the practices that had become ingrained in the industry. There's been a bit of a change and perhaps a watering down on some of those things proposed?
Well, what I would say is 9 out of 10 things that were introduced, fantastic.
Yep.
Consumer protection, transparency, wonderful. But as is always the case with legislation, it tends to overcook it. You know, you microwave it for 30 seconds, then you might whack it in the oven again, and then for good measure whack it back in the microwave. We've been working with the government to sort of respect the fact that the consumer protection elements must remain,
yes,
but make things a little bit more streamlined. Something as simple as anyone that's been to an open inspection, and by the time you've been to the 5th one on the weekend, you've been thrust in front of you the R3, which is a wonderful document. It tells you what you need to know and what you should know and where to go to find the answers. You know, the Minister has seen fit to basically say, okay, well, that's a little bit overkill. Let's put it on the dining room table, and those people that want to take it can take it, because they get it later on in the various other processes. So that's just one example of trying to streamline the process, but make sure that the consumer protection elements remain. And
I think, I mean, that on its own has been, from someone who's out there on weekends handing out these pieces of paper, you're right, by the time you see someone for the 3rd time, or they've been through 2 or 3 opens, they don't want it anyway, clearly. And to the point where they think it's a waste of our resources, and you know, that's another discussion to have, but burning paper basically.
Well, look, it's not overly environmentally friendly,
no.
But mind you, when I look at a Form 1, which is it's obviously the statutory disclosures, at last count I think was 256 items we have to disclose. nothing wrong with that. You look at other states and you know, I haven't seen a Form 1 less than about 40 or 50 pages. So it's about getting the balance right, I think, moving forward.
Are there any other important things that a consumer out there would know that changes are afoot, that they need to know, I should say?
Well, look, one of the issues that is constantly thrown up is the issue of underquoting.
Yes.
And people do get frustrated turning up to auctions that are quoted at X and they go for Y.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily always underquoting, it could well be the marketplace. But one of the key features that the attorney is introducing is the requirement now to have the comparative market analysis as part of the agreement.
Yes.
So that means there needs to be some scientific justification for the price being represented to the marketplace. And I think that's a wonderful thing moving forward. I mean, we're all for transparency. Other things, if you're a vendor in this marketplace, you've got an agreement signed up for 90 days.
Yes.
The attorney has seen fit to suggest there are some easier ways rather than having to sign up again and sign up again. You know, days on market tends to blossom in the marketplace we're in. So we want to minimise that bureaucratic red tape, not just for the agent, but for the vendor.
Yes.
If I had $1 for every time I had a farmer that's selling some residential land saying, but you know, my word is as good as my bond, I'm saying, well, that's fine, but it needs to be written up and it needs to be signed every 90 days. So there's some movements on that front as well, which is great.
It is good. So some good common sense coming into play.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Perhaps you're across the market in terms of discussions with all manner of different agents out there at the moment. What's the common theme you're hearing most at the moment?
The common theme I'm hearing is there is a lot more foot traffic going through, but I'm not hearing the interest rates really enabling people to drag money out of their pockets.
Yeah.
Lots of people looking, obviously a lot of stock on the market.
Yes.
There is an air of positivity. You know, it's even been suggested to me everyone's waiting to see the world come to an end on 1 July with a carbon tax. Now, yeah, all of these things play a factor. I know for one, I was getting a little bit tired of turning on Koshi in the morning and hearing about what's happening in Greece, and so that all has a negative sentiment towards everything. There is some positivity. Could there be a lot more? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the feedback we're getting from members across the board.
So it's a lot about the confidence
that
people have on both sides, perhaps, of the transaction. From an agent's point of view, we are expected to, you know, march confidently into every sale and charge out and get a good result. Obviously, the owner and the buyer sometimes have confidence issues as well.
Absolutely, and look, you can only look around the place and you see all of the negative things that are going on, and that has to have an impact. Mind you, I am still waiting for the mining boom in South Australia. You know, it's one thing to have a mining tenement; it's another thing to actually have soil being, you know, excavated and whatnot. So, you know, there are some positive signs for the future as well.
Yeah, we're quite well placed, I think.
Absolutely.
All right, well, for the time being, we're going to go and have a look at our Going, Gone segment.